The firm Magro Brothers finds its origins in the village of Shawkija Gozo, where my grandfather Gianni lived and worked with his family as a compratur, a trader of agricultural produce. He started his humble business activity in 1886 at the tender age of 20, with no capital, but full of hope, tons of courage, and craving for success. He bartered everything that came his way for a little profit, until he had raised enough capital to tender for the Cappellania, the annual auction organized by the village archpriest, who turned church donations of goods into cash. This great feat enabled him to secure a steady supply of all sorts of agricultural produce from Gozo, allowing him to start crossing over to Malta and sell them at the lucrative markets around the Valletta harbour. The regular visits to these markets in Malta soon made him realize that there were more opportunities for him and for his young family. Gianni felt that this was a good opportunity to start rearing cattle and poultry, and to trade in animal feeds and fodder, which he bartered on regular basis with Maltese suppliers for fresh produce from Gozo. In 1916, at the age of 50, he and his wife Gianna, who was also a keen businesswoman running a grocery shop, decided to rope in the business their 3 sons and set up the firm by the name of Magro Brothers. The formal establishment of the firm in May of 1916 gave my family business access to supply the British services, since the British preferred to get their supplies from established firms. Gianni's 3 sons were Luigi, Giuseppe, and Manuel, my father being the youngest. With the 3 young brothers participating in the business, the commercial activities of Magro Brothers continued to spread and grow, even beyond the shores of Malta. They started their own import trade for fodder and live cattle, and ventured into exports of Maltese cumin seed, cotton, and Gozo lace. In 1934, they decided to embark on an ambitious venture and to create a new industrial activity in Gozo, which is still going strong up to the present day. They encouraged Kozatin farmers to grow tomatoes on a commercial scale and started the production of conserva, the famous Maltese tomato puree, under the popular brand name of Three Hills, which is synonymous with the emblem of Gozo. Their winning formula to convince farmers to switch from traditional crops to growing tomatoes was to offer them cash for their produce instead of bartering. They were resolved to grow their business operations even further, and were equally resolved to remain operating from the island of Gozo. Hence, transport and accessibility to Gozo became a major hurdle for their plans of growth. They addressed this with a bold decision that, in my opinion, demonstrates their skill to turn obstacles into opportunities. Up to 1944, cargo between the islands was still transported by the traditional Gozo boats, which had limited capacity. So my family bought the steamship Hanini and became the first to offer a regular cargo service on the Gozo-Valletta route. This signaled the beginning of 30 years of uninterrupted involvement of Magro Brothers in inter-island transport with various vessels. Their entrepreneurial spirit and appetite for growth did not stop there. In the years to follow, we see them venture in the importation of Japanese cars by investing in Michael de Bono Limited. Soon after, Magro Brothers also became pioneers in real estate and property development in various villages on the island of Gozo. In August 1963, my father passed away at the tender age of 50, and his 2 brothers followed him in the following 4 years. For the next 14 years, the business was managed with great personal sacrifice by my mother Lillian and my aunt Rita. In May 1977, my brother Michael, sister Anne, and I acquired all the shares of Magro Brothers. It was now our time to manage the business. As the third generation in the family business, we found a very different world beyond the confines of our enterprise. The general elections of 1971 had resulted in a new government which brought about new policies of import substitution and huge restrictions on foreign imports. This directed us to focus more on our food processing activity and less on our importation and trading business. We resolved to remain a Gozo-based business operation and to hold strong to the relationships with our business collaborators in Malta and abroad. Michael and I were still in our early 20s, recently qualified in business studies, and very resolute to bring Magro Brothers once again to the forefront of the business community in Malta. We worked hard to transform the factory into a quality-oriented production facility, diversified our range of products, and focused our sales activities towards the protected internal market. However, another change of government in 1987 brought about another complete transformation in the political and economic trust of the Maltese Islands. The end of protectionism and membership in the European community sounded as a disaster for those enterprises that were not ready to adapt. Michael and I took the bold decision to accept the challenge and embarked on a huge investment in the building of a food processing facility which had the dimension and compliancy with EU regulations that could survive the shock of EU membership. This new facility was fully operational by 1995, well ahead of the country's EU membership. The excess production capacity made available in the new plant allowed us to embark once again on exports for our products. Today, I am pleased to admit that our strategy worked well, and we are now fully integrated and respected in Europe and elsewhere. We have learned that change is a constant in a modern business environment, and therefore we are continuously offering new products on the market that respond to new trends and lifestyles. Besides the traditional tomato products and cannery, we are now involved in cheese making and in gourmet yogurts. We are also proud of our Savina operation and product lines, which give tribute to our Mediterranean gourmet heritage. We have also turned our factory complex at Chowkia into a tourist attraction and offer a unique agrotourism experience that is enjoyed by thousands of visitors every year. A characteristic that constantly recurs in my family history is the value of honesty twinned with integrity, values that facilitate long-term relationships in business, supported further by the good fortune of having at our service a group of employees and collaborators that are second to none. I am thankful for my family's past business performance, and I'm very confident for the future of Magro Brothers. In the last few years, we have been grooming the fourth generation of the Magro family to embrace the core values and take ownership of the business. Today, the company is run by professional managers and world-class executives who are dedicated to the company and who, I am confident, will steer the company wisely and remain at the forefront of the Maltese business community. The past 100 years were not an easy voyage for us. But as Segu, the journey of Magro Brothers continues through effort, skill and courage.